G'day baggers and welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge. Well, yes, I was fortunate enough to head down to training today and enjoy the Melbourne weather, which was a little less fierce compared to the last session of 2025 when it was an absolute scorcher. Now, my wife, who is a fellow diehard Bluebagger herself, and my 7-month-old came along as well, which actually happened to be his first outing to Princess Park, seeing the boys in action as a little bagger, sporting as well his new little CFC born and raised bucket hat. So it's very, very cute, and yeah, just great to be able to do that with with us as a family unit, as diehard baggers through and through. So we waltzed in. I set up my camera and started filming patches as the lads geared up for some match sim before being informed that I was unfortunately unable to capture any vision of the match sim due to what they are saying is sensitivities around setup, structure, etc. is what I imagined, which I totally respect. I just found it a little bit curious that they were doing, some new experimental type drills at an open training session instead of a closed session where everyone could film on their phones. But hey, of course, my professional 4K video camera, it stands out a fair bit, fair to say, and the vision is a little bit more crystal clear compared to others, perhaps filming on Nokia type brick devices. But either way, we've got to respect and abide by the same rules that the media do. And the last thing I would want to do is compromise game plans, etc. That is, if any opposition teams, coaches, analysts even tune in to my content here, which a little bit of a, flattering if they do, but I don't think they do. But anyway, all that to say, I just want to apologize that the vision that I will be throwing up on screen throughout will be restricted to players warming up, doing aerobic work, marking, goal kicking drills, because I know some of you out there had been requesting specific vision of players in action, so I do apologize. Just wanted to, preface that before we delve into things. Now, I am informed next week's training session will be an all-access pass type setup. So if I am fortunate enough to head down, I will be looking to grab some more well-rounded vision for all of you tuning in. So again, thank you for your patience, and just a little bit of an explanation there. So without further ado, let's chat training. And the one thing that stood out from the get-go, and one of the most pleasing, I think, of all the players, was seeing Brodie Kemp in full contact training. He played in match sim, launching himself at the footy, with a good spring and leap, which is very, very promising, of course, given he is returning from an Achilles injury. He did spend a majority of time up forward, which is a little bit of an insight into, again, the role that he's going to be taking into 2026. And he did end up taking some shots at goal as well, potentially dobbed one or two during match sim as well. So all around, very, very pleasing to see. Now, another who caught my eye, a bit left field, was a certain player wearing the number 1 jumper. And it was the same style, movement, kicking action as one of my old favourites, a certain Andrew Skywalker, as we once dubbed him. And it looked so familiar, as it was indeed his son Cody on the track. And my word, does he look and play, move, everything in the same vein as his old man. This is, for me, the first time that I've seen him in the flesh, and must say, compared to at least the photos that I've seen of him in the media at training, and there's a classic photo of him chatting to Charlie at training, and he already looks to be well accustomed, I think, to gym work, having put on a little bit of size since that photo was taken. And he was participating in some drills and did some goal kicking work after the main match sim as well, practicing on his set shots, snaps, dribbles for goal. To summarize him, silk. He is pure silk, and I can already tell why this lad is being touted among the top, 2-3 selections come this year's draft. He's an absolute gem. And he also featured in a tackling drill alongside Chesser and Taylor Byrne, conducted by development coaches Jordan Russell and Jacob Townsend at one stage of training. Now, bit of a segue here. As we know, of course, with Motlop being ruled out for the season with his ACL, I did speak in my most recent video about those that could perhaps step up into greater opportunity, and Taylor Byrne was one of those. And I must say, He has all the makings of a quality small forward from what we've seen, limited sample size, of course, but flashed brilliant evasiveness, a great ability to snap around his body, and a bit of a hard-nosed edge to him as well. That one fellow bagger I was having a bit of a chat to at training at that time likened his style to Darren Hume. And if he is half as good as old Pup, as we dubbed him back in the day, who was one of my favourites, I would be a very, very happy man. He, again, in that tackling drill that he was participating in alongside Chesser and Cody, he looked really good, really strong. Not the most defined player. He's obviously quite raw. But, I mean, in terms of what he has all the hallmarks for as a small forward, great skill set. And I think there's something that we can really work with there. And I am keen to see him potentially get a crack at senior level in 2026. So looking forward to that young man. Now, Elijah Hollands as well, again, didn't miss a beat, much like, of course, that last training session in 2025, and showed just really great polish throughout, much of the muchness. We know what Elijah can bring, and personally, I am quietly confident that he gets a second crack in navy blue. Seems to be just ticking all the boxes, doing the right things, and that's all you can ask for at the moment. There's no, again, doubt over his quality, ability, everything else, talent. I think it's his ability to apply himself, get his head in the game, and I think from what we've seen thus far, he is successfully doing just that. In terms of players in the rehab group, we had Newman, Pitnet, Haynes, Cottrell, and Cowan. They all ran laps and took part in limited sections of training, each in their own way. The other one returning from injury as well that I spotted was Harry O'Farrell. Now, he was performing mainly just in running drills, of course, coming back from that ACL injury. And I don't think he had strapping on his leg either, from what I could tell. But yeah, he is someone that I think is going to be a bit of a talent of the future. So all the very best to him in his return. And I mean, he hasn't been placed on a long-term injury list as yet. There is, I think, whispers that the club may hold off because there might be a potential for him to make a return in the latter part of 2026. Now, speaking of which, in terms of guys returning from ACLs, Jagger Smith looked as elite as he did when I filmed the training highlights in that last open training session for 2025. His, turn of foot, his evasiveness, smarts, again, an absolute feature. Every time I see this bloke, he just has that ability to catch the eye, and you're left in awe because he can turn on a dime. His evasiveness is just top notch. And both sessions I have attended live where I've seen him, there's moments where opponents have been left in his dust or, turn the incorrect way to what he did to unsuccessfully tackle him. And then they've fallen over on all fours thinking, geez, how the hell did he get through me? In the match sim as well, he did wear that green cap as he did in the previous training session that I was filming, signifying, of course, that he is still non-contact, but his kicking was simply elite as usual, and hands down will be, I think, the breakout of 2026. Now, the other breakout, I think, contender is someone that's been around the traps for a fair while, one of my favourites, and I think being the standout performer in the top three, at least, I think for me anyway, across both of these open training sessions, and it is Sammy Walsh. He carried just that impressive form as he did in the previous training session. And not sure that if he's taking notes from Jagger, but his ability to shift direction, shrug opponents, showing a bit of strength as well. He's got a bit of extra definition, a bit of extra muscle to him, which I really love to see. And he's using it to great effect as well. Guys are trying to grab onto him. He's just shrugging a shoulder, shimmying the hips, and they're falling off him. And it suggests really, with the way that he's moving, how fit he truly is and the confidence that he is playing with. Let's just hope that he can finally have a full preseason, because at present, all signs suggest, for me anyway, that he'll be at his very, very best in 2026. And I simply cannot wait. I think back to that final series, 2023, and he just tore it to shreds. That's the sort of form, the way that he's moving. That's the impression I'm getting at the moment. So if we can get him back to those heights, wow, he's going to take the competition by storm. And in a contract here, geez, he can probably demand and command the dollar figure, because, yeah, he's looking really good at the moment. And just on that, please, Walshy, not that you'd be tuning in, but please, please sign. Now, the big question mark from training was surrounding Harry Mackay. He did leave the track relatively early, and there really wasn't any noticeable queries about his fitness, but let's just hope it's more of a management load type thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's very, very strange. I'm sure we'll hear about that in due course, but yeah, just fingers crossed that there isn't anything untoward there. In terms of the match sim, which I was unable to film, of course, the notes that I did take down and those that looked good were the following. So Ashton Moyer, he displayed a great leap for his marking, and he reminds me so much of Jared Waite. Marks the ball at the highest point, has that really nice leap to him, a springy step, and he was able to kick a snag, and hopefully he becomes a bit of a permanent fixture in our forward line for 2026, that vacancy, of course, left by Charlie Curnow. I also noticed at various stages in the match sim, Cripps was pushing forward more and was able to kick a goal as well. Now, I really think that this is a tactic that went by the wayside for whatever reason in 2025. And I think it's a tactic that we need to be utilising more in 2026, much like he did in 2022 when he kicked a season-high 20 goals. And again, in 2024 when he kicked his next best of 17 and went on to win the Brownlow in both of those years. Just, that ability to drag his opponent forward, who might be undersized, and utilise his height and size as another, bit part key position forward adds an unpredictable dynamic to our side, I think, especially in attack. And without Charlie there as one of the key focal points, I think it's a great opportunity for us to try something new and go back to the well there because it works so well for Cripper, having an impact forward of the ball. And keen to see that. So don't know if it was something that they were just trying or if it was just the way that the game or the match sim was flowing, but that was good to see. Now, structurally, it looked as though we had our forward 50 pushing up to force a bit of a turnover, and likewise our defence doing likewise when the ball was exiting defensive 50. And we saw this being utilised at various stages in 2025, and I think we'll found out more often than not when, especially our defence, was pushed all the way into the forward half of the ground, and we were forced to run back to the defensive side on turnover, and we found out a number of times there. I just hope that, there's a bit of a fresh dynamic that's being added here, and we're not going back to something that didn't work. But I think aside from that, the ball movement was pleasing. The usage of all areas of the ground, I think, was probably the most pleasing as well. We weren't just vanilla kicking down the line. We were going through the corridor. We were zigzagging through. A bit of, again, unpredictability and something that I'm thinking could help us in our pursuit in 2026 with something new added to the mix. Where we move the ball forward, we're doing it laterally, all that sort of stuff. A big, big tick. To wrap up the session, the lads had a bit of a mini signing session as well on the sidelines before making their way inside. But it's fair to say that watching the lads got me awfully excited for the upcoming season, seeing them in the flesh for the first time in 2026. And being just 7 weeks away from our opening clash with the Swans, geez, it feels like it's just around the corner. So things are gearing up. And speaking of gearing up, so are we here at Bluebaggers Edge. If you are enjoying our content, all you need to do is give the video a like, give us a subscribe, hit the notification bell as well to be notified of when our content does drop. And yes, if you are unaware, we have again released our content as audio podcasts. So again, you can find us Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So make sure to tune into that if you are, of preference to consume our content via audio means. Give us a rating, give us a review if you have a little bit of time up your sleeve, because all that sort of stuff, the feedback, the ratings, they help spread the word and increase, the visibility of our content. So stick with us. We have a whole host of content in the pipeline, which we are very, very excited for. But just throwing to you, if you were at the session, let me know down in the comments section below, if you are watching us on YouTube, who stuck out most to you. And likewise as well, if you were unable to make the session, if you have any comments, questions, anything else, feel free to leave them down below as well. But that's it, ladies and gents. Thanks as always for tuning in. Really do appreciate your company. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next one. Go Baggers.
Have you ever